Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Welcome to this week's Killer Innovation Show. This week, we are going to talk about thinking styles. Which one are you? Do you know what I mean when I say thinking styles? What I'm talking about are really fundamentally two types. Are you more of a convergent thinker or are you more of a divergent thinker? And today we're going to talk about what's the difference between the two, the fact that actually both are important, and even though you may have a dominant style, you can actually practice the other. We're going to prioritize, though, divergent thinkers. Divergent thinkers are the ones that come up with lots of ideas to problems. They're not quick to want to get to find that one single viewed as correct answer. They're willing to experiment. They're willing to try things. They're diverging in their thinking. And we're going to talk about why divergent thinking is so important to innovation and to progress. So, before we jump into this week's episode, I got that favor to ask. Follow, like, and share. Follow us on social media. Like us, give us a review, give us a thumbs up. Share this week's episode with others, those who you think might benefit from hearing about the show, and encourage them to also subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And with that, let's hop in to this week's episode. Humans have always been thinkers. From the time that early humans began to communicate, they were using their brains to figure out how to survive and how to thrive. Over the years, humans have continued to use their brains to solve problems and to create new things. In order to do this, humans have had to learn how to think in different ways. Interestingly, humans are not the only animals that think. Ravens, for example, are known for being very clever birds. They can solve problems and even use tools. However, humans still outrank all other animals when it comes to thinking ability. This is largely because humans have the ability to think abstractly. We can imagine things that don't exist and come up with solutions to problems that do not have a straightforward answer. Now, what about computers? With thinking, humans and computers have some similarities, but also some significant differences. Both humans and computers can solve problems, although humans are better at abstract thinking, while computers are better at logical thinking. Computers can come up with ideas that are based on logic and data, but they cannot come up with ideas that are totally new and original. This is one thing that will always set humans apart from machines: our ability to think creatively and come up with new solutions to problems. Now, there are many thinking styles, but they are broken down into two fundamental ways that humans think: convergent thinking and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is focused and goal-oriented. You are converging down to the one single answer. It is good for solving problems that have a single correct answer. Now, most people think in convergent way most of the time. Why? Because our schools and workplaces reward people who come up with the one right answer. However, in order to innovate and create, we need people who can think in divergent ways. Divergent thinking is more open-ended and exploratory. You are diverging. You are looking at a wide range of possible answers. It is good for solving problems that have the multiple correct answers. We often use this type of thinking in creative professions where people are encouraged to come up with new and innovative ideas. Both convergent and divergent thinking are important. The best way to solve a problem is to use both types of thinking together. Start by using divergent thinking to explore different possibilities, to come up with new and as many different innovative ideas. Then, by using convergent thinking, you can narrow down your options and find the best solution. So let's dig in. What about convergent thinking? Convergent thinking is a problem solving approach that involves generating one correct solution to a problem and then creating plans for action. Some of the characteristics of convergent thinking are: first, it's logical and systematic. This means that convergent thinkers approach problems in a step by step manner, analyzing all the data before coming to a conclusion. Second, they are analytical. They like to break down the problem into smaller parts so that they can understand them better. Third, they are objective. They make decisions based on facts and data, not emotion and personal opinions. And finally, they are decisive. They know what they want and they go after it aggressively. Now, there are limitations of convergent thinking. While convergent thinking is an important skill, it has some meaningful, significant limitations. First, it can be rigid and inflexible. Convergent thinkers often have trouble adapting to new situations or changing their minds once they've made a decision. Second, they can be restrictive. They often focus too much on the details and lose sight of the bigger picture. And finally, it can be boring. It can be repetitive and unchallenging, leading to stagnation and a lack of creativity. So, what about divergent thinking? We need people with divergent thinking skills to create and to innovate. Divergent thinkers think outside the box and come up with many possible solutions to a problem instead of just that one idea like convergent thinkers do. They explore all angles in order to find something new and different about any given situation, which can lead them down the paths not taken by others before. Essentially, if we want our world's progress made, we need to move quickly enough. We need divergent thinkers. So, what are some characteristics of divergent thinking? First, it is creative. Divergent thinkers think outside the box and come up with ideas that no one else has thought of before. Second, it's flexible. Divergent thinkers are able to adapt easily to new situations. They can change their minds easily when necessary. Third, it's open-minded. Divergent thinkers are willing to consider different points of view and explore alternative solutions. And fourth, it is challenging. Divergent thinking can be frustrating because it involves taking risks and stepping out of our comfort zone. Now, there are some limitations to divergent thinking. While divergent thinking is essential for innovation, it does have some of its own constraints and limitations. First, it can appear disorganized. Divergent thinkers often have trouble staying focused on one task or goal. Second, it can appear undisciplined. Divergent thinkers may start projects but never finish them because they get sidetracked easily. And finally, it can be chaotic. Divergent thinking can lead to a lot of confusion and may not always result in a single clear solution. But the fact is we need more divergent thinkers. Since convergent thinking is the most common form of thinking, we need to put effort into expanding our thinking styles by building up divergent thinkers. The first step in improving your divergent thinking skills is to understand the different types of divergent thinking. There are ideators, connectors, and analogizers. Now, that may not sound like a word, but actually, if you look it up, it is. Ideators come up with lots of ideas. Connectors connect ideas together, and analogizers see similarities between ideas. You need all three. To improve your divergent thinking skills, you need to practice and become proficient in all of these types of divergent thinking skills. So let's dive into each one. The ideator. To be a successful divergent thinker, you need to be an ideator, the ability to constantly generate new ideas. The best way to do this is to have tools or methods that you can use to stimulate your creativity. It can be any type of a process, an approach, aids such as card decks, or tools that you find helpful in getting your creative juices flowing. The key is to use the tools to regularly be creative. Don't just use it as a way to come up with new ideas for work or school projects. Use it to come up with new ideas for anything and everything. The more you use your ideator skills, the better your divergent thinking skills will become. There are so many ways that you can improve your ideator skills. One way is to practice daily brainstorming by identifying, let's say, a daily object like a ballpoint pen and setting an idea quota such as 25 ideas in 30 minutes for how many different ways you can improve the ballpoint pen. Pick a random object on your desk, the table, whatever's in front of you, set that idea quota, and then rattle off as many different ways that you could improve it, change it, or make it better. The idea quota forces you to brainstorm a variety of ideas, some of which may be far-fetched and beyond the obvious. But the important part is that it gets you into the habit of generating new ideas regularly and on demand. The second type of divergent thinker is the connector. The connector skills takes two seemingly unrelated ideas and finds the link between them. Divergent thinkers need to see the world in terms of connections and are able to come up with new ideas by linking together different concepts. This results in taking a lot of disparate ideas and finding the common thread that ties them all together. The result is new ideas that would not have been possible if we were only thinking linearly. One exercise is to take a problem you are trying to solve and break it down into different fundamental parts. Then find as many non-obvious connections between these parts. Then take these connections and using your ideator skills to brainstorm more ideas. How do you improve these connections of what seems to be two unrelated items? This will force you to see the problem in a different way and come up with new ideas that might seem random, but can lead to an unexpected solution. Third, the analogizer. The analogizer is the skill where someone can see the similarities between widely divergent different ideas. They can take two seemingly unrelated concepts and mash them up. The result is the ability to come up with new and innovative ideas by finding the links between ideas that don't seem to have any relation at all. For example, it can do this by taking two different industries or companies or products or services and finding as many non-obvious similarities and differences between them as possible. Then take those and connect them up in all different kinds of combinations and use your ideator skills to brainstorm even more ideas. If you take this concept from a manufacturing industry, from this concept from a software industry, mash them up, what do you come up with? That is what we're talking about. The world is full of convergent thinkers. We've talked about that already. They are the people who work in corporations. These are the people who typically follow the rules and they arrive at the single solution. They are good at following instructions and often praised for their ability to stay within the lines. The world also has its fair share of divergent thinkers. They are the people who start businesses, push boundaries, and come up with insanely great new ideas. They are often praised for their creativity and innovation. Divergent thinkers are critical to innovation and progress. Corporations, any organization, government, non-government, profit, nonprofit, rely on convergent thinkers to maintain efficiency and consistency. But it is the divergent thinkers who drive innovation and change. Divergent thinkers are able to see beyond the status quo and come up with the new way of doing things. They challenge the rules. They find solutions to problems that nobody else has thought of. Divergent thinkers help businesses stay ahead of the competition by coming up with new ideas that no one has ever thought of before. They help businesses stay innovative and relevant in today's constantly changing world. As a result, businesses that want to succeed must embrace divergent thinking and encourage their employees to think creatively. So which are you? Are you more of a convergent thinker or a divergent thinker? Now, don't think of it as being bad that you think of yourself maybe as a convergent thinker, and don't do negative talk that says, oh, maybe I'm not as innovative and I'm not as creative. We all have a dominant thinking style. In many cases, it's what we learned in the school systems, right? Get to the one correct answer the math test correctly. But you can practice your divergent thinking skills. So take the exercises that we shared in the main segment of today's show and practice them. Work that creative muscle. Build up that divergent thinking skills, because that is absolutely critical if we are going to create new products, new services, solve the world's major big problems. So practice, practice, practice. Work at it. Think of it as like a muscle. You need to exercise it each and every day. Thanks again for joining us in the episode today. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the time out of your busy schedule. We're in season 18. We're actually a couple of months away from starting, yes, I can't believe it, season 19. Starting our 19th year of doing the show. So, as we get ready for ending this year and getting ready for plans and strategies for next year, love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. Drop us a note. You can go over to theinnovators.network, hit the contact form in the upper right-hand corner, drop us a note, let us know what you think. If you have guest suggestions for this show or any other show on the network, let us know. We'd love to hear that. And also, any feedback that you have for me, topics, guests, things that you would like to hear on the show, just let us know. And with that, take the time this week, practice your divergent thinking skills, work at it, stretch out, exercise that muscle, build that up, because that becomes the critical success. And those that have strong divergent thinking skills are the ones that will achieve both personal, career, and business success. And I want that for you. So with that, practice this week, work on those ideas, take that innovation that you're working on, bring it to the world, and have an impact. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.